Welcome to Jets Overtime, presented by Nissan. Eric Allen and Anthony Beck inside the BetMGM studios. Well, the New York Jets fall to 3-9 on the season with a 33-18 loss to the Philadelphia Eagles. For a while there, AB, it looked like we had a shootout on our hands, but the Jets didn't score any points in the second half and not enough stops for the defense today. In fact, the Philadelphia Eagles scored on each of their first 7 possessions.
Yeah, I mean, listen, that's difficult. You go into this game, you want to start fast offensively. Well, you did even better than that. You trumped that. You went out in special teams. You got the kickoff. You brought it all the way down deep into Eagles territory, which was great. And you finished that off with a big score. And you saw Zach Wilson, what he was able to do throughout this game. In those first 3 drives, he looked hot. He looked on point. The game plan was great. I love the play calling by Mike LaFleur in this game. And, Zach was all in on it. I mean, he was dialed in. They had a really good plan versus what they were going to see defensively from the Eagles. And, look, they had a lot to deal with up front. We talked about the defensive line with Hargrave and Fletcher Cox, and they were still able to run the ball effectively and drive the ball down the field. And you saw that toughness up front. That's exactly how you want to come out and start the game. The big question mark, obviously, was on the other side. You didn't get reciprocation from your defense, but, just speaking from an offensive standpoint, you were happy with it. Second half, you weren't able to get enough possessions. Now, you can control that as an offense, right, by getting more plays, or converting first downs. But when your defense doesn't get off the field on their opportunities, then you're not going to have enough possessions in the game as well. So that's kind of the story of two halves for the offense.
So let's bring in Eric Coleman right now. Let's go to your side of the ball. Let's talk about the Jets defensively. Where are they right now, and what do they have to do as they move forward in order to get stops? Can they hang their hat on guys? I know I'm looking for something. I'm searching a little bit here, but it was touchdowns early. It became field goals late.
With a lot of screens, they weren't able to stop the run, and that is handled up front. I think you have to set the tone up front, get pressure on the quarterback when it's third down in long situations, and then on top of that, you have the situational awareness when you're continuing to hurt yourself with penalties, mental mistakes. You can't continue to beat yourself up, especially when you're a team that's not really playing up to par. You have a lot of injuries back there on the back end, so the communication is going to fall off. The defensive line, while they did wreak some havoc a little bit early, they're not enough to get off the field. You have to get off the field on third down, stop the runs. Those are the basic fundamentals of playing good defense.
Anthony, how much did it hurt this team, the 2 extra points early, and then you had to go for 2 points after that third touchdown? You don't convert. And even though your offense had scored touchdowns at 3 consecutive possessions, you're down. In fact, you're down at halftime.
It is a big deal. I mean, and you're worried about it, right? When you're a coach in an organization, you're bringing in a kicker, doesn't have a lot of experience. You're trying to fix that up. Amendola doesn't really, do what you need. And then all of a sudden, this kid comes in and he's under the spotlight, and it doesn't go well for him early. And now it's just a trickle effect. And it does change you. I mean, the game should be tied 21-all. And then you have a guy that's out there that, forces you as a coach to go for 2 in those scenarios because you can't make the extra point. It's a part of the problem as well. But, just big picture, you have to have 3 phases come together when you're the Jets. You can't go out there and win on one side or 2 sides of the football. You have to win on all 3 phases. To add what Eric was saying on defense as well, you have a 30-19 situation. They're playing press man, which was an interesting situation there. And what happens was a DB falls. Guys are running crossing routes. DB falls. Guy gets wide open. No one's around him because you don't have safety help on that crosser. And now you have a big play that gets the chains moving and converting that. So, just a lot of different scenarios. Run fits weren't there. And then, of course, there were some calls throughout the game that didn't go your way, unfortunately, for the Jets. So, when you look at this game as a whole, you have to play better on all 3 phases, and you have to play 4 quarters of football. It's nice to play a half and see that great stuff in a half, and those all things are great. You can hang your hat on that offensively, but collectively as a football team, the second half just it was nothing there that the Jets could have leaned on to have success in the second half of play.
Up and down day overall for the New York Jets. You're talking about a 79-yard kickoff return for Braxton Berrios, 2 missed extra points for Alex Kessman, and Zach Wilson accounts for a personal best, a career high, 3 touchdowns for the first time in his career, but no points for the Jets in the second half. Our own Bob Wischusen talked to the rookie signal caller.
Zach, great start. 3 touchdowns to start the game for your offense. What do you think needed to happen to continue that rhythm as the game went on?
We just got to keep executing, just hitting that reset button every single play. I thought it was a cool, not really good situation, of not being on the field pretty much the whole third quarter. We got 3 plays in, and, we got to grow as a team as far as just understanding that when that happens, how can we come out and execute and do well. Things were a little shaky from the fourth quarter, once we actually finally did get our chance to go back on the field. But I thought it was a good challenge for us to be able to take that on, to have to sit on the sideline that long after doing some really good things in the first half. And I think we're just going to get better from it.
How about the chemistry with Elijah, as you guys have continued to now have more opportunities to move through this rookie season together?
Yeah, it's going to keep getting better and better. There's things, tonight I wish I would have made a better throw onto him, or, maybe I saw it a little bit differently, but we're going to keep, working that chemistry, and, eventually it's going to be a pretty dangerous, duo between me and him.
And when you think about the guys that you're without, right, Corey is hobbled, and obviously Michael Carter, and, you're still without Mekhi Becton. I mean, when this offense gets all of its pieces back, what do you think the ceiling is based on how you've developed as this season has gone on?
Yeah, I think we can do great things, even right now, with the guys that we had today. It just comes down to execution, doing all the little things right, and we're going to keep learning and getting better from this game.
All right, thanks. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
You are watching Jets Overtime presented by Nissan. Eric Allen and Anthony back inside the BetMGM studio. Obviously a dejected Zach Wilson. Interesting day at the office, because overall, when you say that he took strides, because you reflect on him in the early going here, had nothing going in the first quarter in all his previous starts, and the Jets scored a couple touchdowns in the first quarter today. 18 points in the first half. In fact, Robert Saleh said he thought Wilson was well on his way to a big day, but nothing went right for the Jets, especially in that third quarter.
Well, Zach said it, he was in a flow in the first half, and then all of a sudden the second half, he doesn't have that flow because he's on the sidelines for so long the defense couldn't get off the field. And they had that 3 and out, to really kind of propel themselves to get more plays, and they weren't. I thought Zach played well in the first half, man. It's as good as you could ask. He was on point. Ball location was good. And guess what? He found his guy, Elijah Moore, quite often in this football game, in particular early to start. So it was a good mesh between those two. Probably should have had 2 touchdowns. You just saw the touchdown to Griffin right before that. Moore had an opportunity in the corner of the end zone to catch it as well. So it's good to see those guys going and clicking, and it is going to get better. I love the targets. We talk every week. I say, hey, let's up it now. It was 7. Now let's get it to 10. Well, 12 targets today for Moore, which is fantastic. And, I guess from a standpoint of everybody else in the picture offensively, I thought Tevin Coleman played a really good game. He runs extremely hard. He doesn't miss the hole, and he gets through with good burst. He was able to break some tackles today. Corey Davis is a little bit of a question mark just because of the fact that he hasn't been able to stay healthy. It seems like he gets hurt, he comes back, all of a sudden he's back on the field, he gets hurt again. You got to be worried about just a little bit about his availability more than anything. And really wasn't able to get into the mix today. Had a drop in the game that probably should have pulled in late in that last drive. But overall in that first half, there's a lot you got to like about Zach Wilson's preparation to start this football game, meshed with the play calling of what LaFleur had ready for this defense that they're playing against the Eagles.
Eric, Anthony hit the nail on the head here. This is one of the most encouraging signs for the Jets moving forward, is what we saw from Zach Wilson and Elijah Moore. He was targeted 12 times today, 6 catches, 77 yards. Probably should have had 100 yards. I go back to a play there in the second half where there was either a miscommunication or just a bad miss by Wilson there, because on the next play, on the ensuing play, Wilson was intercepted. But those two are going to be big pieces for this franchise moving forward.
Absolutely, and you love to see a young quarterback and receiver kind of grow together, come through the leagues, iron out the wrinkles, get that chemistry with one another, and you can see it. He's starting to trust Elijah Moore much more. He's given them more opportunities, 12 targets today, and Elijah comes through. And the more you come through for your quarterback, the more he's going to gain confidence in them. And it's not that, like you said, Zach isn't going out there looking for Elijah. Elijah's running great routes. He's one of the primary receivers. He's getting open, and when he throws it to him, he makes the catch. So I love the chemistry between these two players, and it's just going to continue to evolve.
Anthony, do you love the fire this kid plays with? We talk about it every week, but it means so much to him, and you see the emotion, and this offense looks far different when he's touching the football.
Kid's got juice. You can't take that away from him, man. He gets the ball. He brings excitement. He's got a little swag to him. Fans embrace it, and I love it. I mean, listen, it's been a minute since an offensive guy, receiver, has come in and done the things he's done. Rookie, veteran, anything. When you're talking about having that kind of buzz. I mean, the kid is electric right now, and he's been able to get to the end zone quite a bit of times. Could have had 2 today. So, he continues to grow, and it's fun watching him, and his targets will go up because he's that kind of dude, and defenses know it. They're preparing for him. They're circling. This is a guy you got to stop, and so far he's had the upper hand these last 5, 6, 7 games.
He is a dude. It's not just the explosive plays. It's not just the production. He scores touchdowns. That's the other thing. Hey, fantasy owners, if you haven't picked this guy up, you might as well draft him early next year because that's 6 touchdowns in 7 games overall. And as Anthony just articulated, that's 5 receiving touchdowns in 5 games.
Yeah, I mean, when you become the primary target, you start getting those plays and coming through. You're going to get more. They're going to keep feeding the beast, and he's showing right now that he is that kind of player. He's a guy you can depend on. He can run the routes. He's tough. He's physical. He runs excellent routes, and when he gets the ball in his hands, he's explosive. So just a great combination. He's a tough receiver. He loves his game. He plays with a lot of passion, as Anthony said, and you can see it. You cling on to it. You love it, and it's infectious around his room.
Total yards for the Eagles today, 418. The Jets had 281. That rushing stat is interesting because the previous 3 games, the Eagles had topped the 200-yard mark. Anthony gets his all in or not today.
Close.
Right. It was close there at the end because, man, that team really can run the football. Even without Jalen Hurts, they amassed 185 yards on the ground. For more on this one, let's go to MetLife Stadium and hear from Ethan Greenberg.
Thanks, EA. Let's talk about this Jets special teams. Let's start with the opening kickoff when Braxton Berrios took the opening kickoff 79 yards, and that possession resulted in a touchdown for the Jets. They get out to the early lead, but then here come the special team woes. Alex Kessman in his first game with the Jets missed back-to-back extra point attempts. Those were his only 2 attempts on the day. And then let's talk about some more special teams here. Alex Kessman has a kickoff. The Jets down the ball at the 6-yard line. They tackled Jalen Reagor. Well, then the Jets couldn't capitalize on the good field position for them, the bad field position for the Eagles. Philadelphia marched 94 yards. That results in a Kenneth Gainwell touchdown. And then similarly on a punt from Braden Mann, Jalen Reagor muffs the punt. He gets the punt, and then he takes it 20 yards upfield. The Eagles then capitalize with the field goal. So that's 10 points right there. Kind of an up-and-down day here at MetLife for the Jets special teams, EA. Back to you.
Eric, what changed for the Jets defensively with the quarterback position? Jalen Hurts, we knew he was banged up early in the week. I can't imagine that was much of a surprise for the Jets that Gardner Minshew was in the lineup. But what did you see out there from them defensively, where Minshew, guys, he was very effective. I would think he was 20 of 25 overall, and the Jets could not get pressure.
Well, it's tough. When you're playing against a guy like Jalen Hurts, you want to make sure one, that he stays in the pocket. He's athletic. He can move. He can create plays with his legs, and he's a primary running back. So you're going to play it a little different. You're not going to rush as much. You're not going to commit to the rush. You're going to play more on the line of scrimmage and play it more honest. When you have a guy like Gardner Minshew who's going to be back there in the pocket passing, you need to get that pass rush. You need to get penetration. You need to blitz to get him off his spot, to get him on the move, and not let him be comfortable in the pocket. You saw what he did early in the game. He was back there. He was comfortable. They started off with the screen game. They ran plays across the field. They ran the crossing routes. The Jets defensive backs were getting tangled up, and there was no pressure in his face. He's a shorter quarterback. He stands in the pocket. You have to get pressure up front with Gardner and really just make him uncomfortable. As far as preparing for him, it really looked like the Jets were preparing for Jalen Hurts. A guy who is going to run the football more. You're going to play more base coverage. You're going to anticipate more runs, and he doesn't have the ability as Gardner to throw the football. So, I thought Gardner did a great job today. He was 20 for 25. Started the game off, it looked like he was going to be perfect. And they really kept it simple for him. But, overall, it was the lack of pass rush, and that works hand in hand with coverage.
Anthony, let's talk about the tight end position. Dallas Goedert, he had a big first half, and he finishes with 6 catches for 105 yards and the 2 touchdowns.
Yeah, most of that damage was in the first half, right? I mean, here's a guy that obviously is one of their premier weapons. And listen, you talk about a guy like Minshew, if you were just assuming who he would go to, that's a big target, right? Someone, a security blanket that he can lean on. You got to make sure you have somebody checking that guy and checking that box. I know they schemed him up quite a bit. They had a nice pick play. Legal pick play that got Goddard open up the sideline for a touchdown, but anything down the field deep, you got to make sure you're in place. And clearly when they did try to cover him, he was a problem. They got the pass interference versus Hall in a situation late in the game, which I didn't see that I thought was good, but I could totally accept why the official in the back end saw it, because Goddard did fall down on his own with that arm around his arm from Bryce Hall. So, I think defensively, across the board, wasn't the best 4 quarters for the Jets. I think initially just coming out, even if they were considering that the fact that the quarterback was a change, then, well, guess what? Every other quarterback is basically like Minshew in the league. I mean, so even though you don't prepare for that, it is a little bit more. It's a lot better if you're a defensive lineman or something from a blitz package standpoint, where a quarterback is, okay, he can move, but he's not going to want to leave the pocket as much. You saw Minshew hold on to the ball quite a bit, trying to extend something, get things going, and the defensive line wasn't able to get him. So give credit to him for not, being hit, not making any mistakes. We talked about him, doesn't throw many interceptions. He didn't. He doesn't fumble as well. So, that's a big-time moment for him to come in. That's hard, and he was able to capture it. But we've seen that on our side. Mm-hmm. Mike White, Joe Flacco, Josh, they all did it, right? So they got it done. So you can't just assume he can't do it. He had a nice performance today versus the Jets.
Braxton Berrios almost had a house call today, a 79-yard kickoff return. He finished with 3 returns for 146 yards, averaging 46 yards a clip. Ethan talked to him after the game.
All right, here with wide receiver Braxton Berrios. Braxton, you start the game off with a 79-yard kick return. How much of a jolt do you think that gave the offense early?
We ended up punching it in that series, so I think we did get off on that.
And what did you see during that run? It seemed like there was a pretty wide open hole there. How difficult is it?
Okay, we're going to take care of that in post-production. We will hear from Braxton Berrios, in fact, later. Probably not on the show, but on NewYorkJets.com. But, again, that's a good job scouting by the Jets. Good job by Berrios, because the Eagles all year have struggled covering punts and kickoffs, and he gave this team a jolt they needed out of the gate.
Yeah, kickoff return, punt return, very hard, right? Difficult when you have to have 11 guys blocking and running with the football, and they do a nice job there. Brent Boyer's been just very good at that in his career, getting something going, and they needed to have something going. But as much as he's going to love that play, and good that that's early in the game, he's going to vomit with the kicking game, right? So that's kind of how that give or take is, And I feel bad for special teams coaches sometimes. It seems to be the way it goes sometimes. You get really nice returns, things are going well, but you know what? You can't have that perfect day because, oh yeah, by the way, you missed 2 extra points and you had a new kicker and you're probably stressed out going to the game as it was with that. But it was a great way to start the game. Berrios is really good special teams right now. He's a good return guy. You see the fire, you see the energy. He's a playmaker in his own way. It may not show up in huge statistics, but he does take advantage of every opportunity that he gets.
All right, we're going to cover this by all angles, like we do every game. I got to ask you guys about the officiating in the third quarter. There were a number of calls that went against the Jets. The Jets, of course, a rebuilding team right now. They are 3-9. Do you think that's just part of the process? It's going to take time for this team to get calls. I want to get both of your thoughts. We can go up and down the line. There are three or four calls there. There was an overturn on a 4th and 1, a replay review. There was a pass interference call on Bryce Hall that really looked ticky-tacky from my amateur eyes. Then there was, what else am I forgetting here as far as
The offsides.
no, offsides. It's C.J. Mosley offside. Kelsey moves the ball a little bit, and C.J. Mosley jumps.
Eli Moore getting grabbed.
Yep, and
That was
Elijah
another
Moore was
part.
clearly grabbed by Darius Slay. There's so many of these that I'm losing my train of thought, and I'm getting pumped up. You saw Robert Saleh obviously incensed on the sideline. E, what did you think?
You know, I was very frustrated by the Bryce Hall pass interference. I know, Anthony, you could understand why, because you're a big tight end. But, you know, for a safety, for a smaller defensive back covering a tight end, the only way you can guard them is with body position, because they're so big and strong. The size advantage is crazy. You know, he probably outweighs Hall by 50 pounds. So he's running with him. They're just hand wrestling, running down, and he's running his route. He runs back into him. The ball is thrown short. So now Dallas Goedert comes through him, and he's looking back for the ball. I thought everything on that play was legal by Bryce Hall. I thought it was great coverage. It was unfortunate. And then you look over and see Elijah Moore getting grabbed even more, and they don't even call it. So, you know, it's very frustrating. I can understand that. If you're Coach Saleh, you're the Jets, it's frustrating. But you can't look for bailouts when you're not playing good football. When you're playing good ball, you're playing consistent, you get those calls. You start to get calls, things start going your way, but you have to prove that you can make those plays on your own. So that's all what it comes down to. The offsides penalty was frustrating. You know, a guy is 4th down and 3. You got C.J. Mosley, your defensive captain. I don't even know that the Eagles are running the play. They were just trying to make the Jets jump off sides. He jumps, falls for the bait. They get the penalty. They continue to drive. Those kind of mistakes right there are what's keeping this team from hitting that next level and getting off the field and giving that offense a lot more opportunities.
I'll tell you what, Elijah Moore is going to draw a ton of penalties throughout his NFL career because people cannot stay with him. Not just the straight ahead speed, but his foot quickness is off the charts. Now, Anthony, break down a couple of those plays for me. That was definitely, that was definitely a holding call on Moore. But the 4th and 1 play, take it wherever you want to go here, because there were 4 calls there in the third quarter where it had me scratching my head.
Well, you know, I'm just going to take the words out of Gene Sterator's mouth. Any of you who weren't at the game that watched it on TV, he said in his entire career he's never seen how that could actually be overturned and made a first down. In particular, not the fact that it was even not measured. They just gave it to him. So there was nothing on video evidence that allowed me to see anything. And if Gene Sterator, who's been in this league for a long time, doesn't see it, what could they possibly have said that's definitive enough to move it forward? So absolutely have a gripe there with Saleh in that situation. Look, I'm going to give C.J. Mosley a pass. He doesn't normally do that. Kelsey's a veteran, man. He's doing some stuff, some little twitch movements and things of that nature. Try to draw guys off sides. Referee officials didn't see that. Whether they did or not, you know, obviously you don't expect that from CJ, and he saw something to draw him off sides in that moment. But just like Eric said, they weren't going to run a play there, so you just got to hang on and hold your water in that situation. And unfortunately, it's all about positioning with the official on that Goedert Bryce Hall grab, because he has his arm and he's fighting him. It's not enough to bring him down, but Goedert falls down on his own. He doesn't fall down because of the hold. He falls down because it's a poor pass, and he actually goes down to the ground. And because that angle from behind, the official calls the flag. That's what's being called. So you have a gripe on all those things. Did they change the game? Yeah, some of those positions did change the game. I mean, 2 4th down plays in particular, those are huge. So there's nothing you can do about it. We can complain about it. Coach is going to obviously be upset about it. We see this every week. Unfortunately, there just seemed to be a ton of them in this game.
Yeah, the Eagles were the better team. Bottom line, they were the better team on both sides of the line of scrimmage today. That's why they won the ball game. But there's 4 instances in this game where, you know, it can change the rhythm of a game. Anthony just articulated, that's a 4th and 1 play where it looks like the Jets are off the field. The Williams brothers makes a stop on Minshew, and that's the first time you've ever seen that, where a mass of humanity in there, and they go upstairs and say, well, actually, he got to where he needed to get to. And then the offsides call, you guys are going to have to fill me in on the rules there. He is a veteran center, but how much can he move the ball? It seems like it's different every game you're watching. The Bryce Hall pass interference penalty was not pass interference, and Elijah Moore was clearly held. Again, the Eagles were the better team.
Yeah, I agree. And, Coach Saleh, he's fired up on the sideline, rightfully so. But then you saw after the game, he doesn't really want to talk about it, because he's not going to use that as an excuse. There were plenty plays in that game, plenty opportunities for the Jets to win this game. You talk about that play that Goddard caught on the wheel route where he got rubbed. When you're playing man-to-man coverage, this is a rule in secondary. You can't have two guys next to each other, both at the same level. They're both playing press coverage. They get rubbed, and that's going to happen every single time. I'm sure the Eagles saw that in film and went back to that play later on in the drive. One guy has to be up, one guy has to be off, or they both have to be off, and there has to be communication in that sense. Then you have that over route, where Pinnock falls down. If you're in press coverage, you can't be in that situation. You have to play off. They're running cross-country routes. Yes, it takes a lot of time. There's no pass rush. You can't fall down as a defensive back. And I hate to say it, you just can't fall down. There's no excuse for falling down as a defensive back. And that's always how it's been, and that's how it's going to be.
It's usually you, AB, who's fired up. I think we got to calm E down today. He's ready to go right now. He sees things in the defensive backfield, and he's ready to jump back out there.
Well, as an offensive player, I only have to be disappointed for half a game. He's got the whole game he's got to worry about defensively with the Jets. But and you listen, as well as the Jets played offensively in the first half, you can't let them off the hook in the second, right? So you can extend drives. You can find ways to not go 3 and out in the first time you get the ball. I mean, you can help yourself, but you got to get off the field if you're the defense. I mean, this Eagles team is not as good as a team with Minshew being the quarterback, regardless of what he did in the first half. It doesn't matter. Both of these defenses struggled today, and the Jets offense, it's like who's going to make that one stop? The Eagles found a way. The Jets didn't.
That's right. Eric, for all the good the Jets did offensively in that first half, they ended up with 18 points, and 18 points still is not going to get it done on most Sundays.
No, I remember when Herm used to say, you have to put up 24 points. You have to get 20. It's a race to 24. Consistently, if you can get 24 points, and you give yourself an opportunity to win. Now, obviously, that wouldn't have won the game today, but your defense has to come through. And like Anthony said earlier in the show, all 3 phases have to play good football. It's a complementary game, especially when you're not elite on any certain level. So your defense has to be solid. They have to get off the field on third down. Offensively, you have to run the ball consistently. You can't, you can't let the game get out of hand where you stop running the ball, especially when Tevin Coleman is cooking the way he is. But when you have the ball for 70 seconds in the third quarter, it makes it tough in the fourth to run the football because your defense can't get off the field. So, everything works together. They have to find a way to put a solid game together on all 3 phases. That's the only way you're going to win in this level. You look on defense, it's December. This is the time of year where ball security is a big issue. Missed tackles are a big issue because it's cold. Guys are beat up. Injuries are taking are taking their toll on you. You got to worry about the ball security. You got to tackle well, and you can't let the turnovers get away from you. So, this is just a tough break for the Jets. They'll improve from it. They're continuing to grow. They get better every week, and I love the way the offense came out to start this game.
Anthony, Philadelphia Eagles, 41 carries, 185 yards, averaging 4.5 yards a carry. On the other side of the coin, you got the Jets, 17 carries. For 70 yards.
And they were some efficient carries by the Jets. There's no question about it, but they didn't get to the magic number, which is at least get to 20. And for poor Eric Coleman getting to 25 plus. Listen, blind resumes, you already know who's winning that game, right? And you're probably thinking to yourself, okay, well, the possessions didn't dictate yourself allowing to run that way. Tevin Coleman had a nice game today. I think if things weren't the way they were the second half, you got some more opportunities, more move the chains or more possessions, you could have got clearly over the 20 rush mark, which may have not even been enough. But, again, it's a tale of 2 halves for this offense. Really, when you pull out the good things that came out of this, Zach Wilson was prepared, ready to go, had a great feel for the game. Coordinator, play caller, quarterback all on the same page. Guys were making plays, catching the football. It was exciting first half. I mean, you want to see more stops. You want to see the defense play well, but it was going back and forth. That's how some games are. But coming out of half, who's going to fix it? Who's going to find a way to make the change or the wrinkle and say, okay, that's it, we're done. This is what we've seen. Now we got to hunker down and find a way to get 1 or 2 stops in the game. Eagles found a way to do it early in the second half, which provided their offense an opportunity to get that edge in scoring. And then from there, you basically had no third quarter. The offense waited around for an hour and a half to get back on the field and wasn't able to produce in the fourth quarter because of a turnover, some drop balls, and things that didn't go their way. But the movement purpose, when they had the flow going, it was there. It's just they didn't have 4 quarters of 3 phases of football going for them.
If you are a Jets fan, you have to see progress from Zach Wilson. Did you see progress from him today? We talk about his start. He kind of flipped the script a little bit, fellas, where he started off the game hot, but that whole offense got a little bit cold there in the second half. But overall, let's look at it from a macro level. Did he take some steps? Was he more decisive? Was he better with his feet? Was he seeing it better?
Yeah, absolutely. For one, he got off to a fast start. He was taking what the defense gave him. I thought they did a great job calling the screens, implementing those into the passing game, and letting him get into a rhythm. He was very confident in that first half, and it was great to see. In the second half, yes, he slowed down a lot. He was sitting for an hour and a half, like Anthony just mentioned, and then you come out and it's not going to be the same. There's no rhythm running the football, throwing the ball down the field. Yes, he had an overthrow for an interception. He had one that maybe could have got intercepted earlier in the game, but I like the way he's progressing. He's continuing to get better. It seems like he has a better understanding of the game, and he's starting to get more comfortable. So, if I'm the coaches, if I'm the Jets fans, I'm excited what I see with this young man. As a defender, as a defensive guy, I'm disappointed in the way the defense, you have to get his back. You have to go out there and put together some great performances when you have a young quarterback. You have to be able to get some stops, get off the field in the first half to give him opportunities, because it's not always going to be how it was in the first half.
Good stuff, E. We'll catch you next week. Complimentary football, that's what it's all about, Anthony. Big return there at the start of the game. The Jets take the lead, and then the offense countered. They get punched, they counter. The defense was never able to land that punch today, and then finally the offense just stopped countering at a certain point.
Yeah, you got to take advantage of your opportunities. Again, it's what happens in games is, you got to have 4 quarters of play on all sides. You cannot just come out and be good in a half and not be, at least have something going in the other half. And then, defensively, they just weren't there today, period. It's just, for whatever reason, Jalen Hurts didn't play. Well, if Jalen Hurts played, I promise you they would have had over 200 yards rushing, because they had it without him. Okay, Minshew didn't run the ball today. Okay, so that was going to be a factor. And listen, you got a little aggressive in scenarios, a lot of man today, and there was some confusion on certain situations. Coach Sal even talked about some miscommunication, some things that happened, and then of course just execution was not there, and you couldn't get to Minshew when he was passing. He got the ball out of his hand. He was effective. I got to give the kid credit. It's not easy. He hadn't played all year. He hadn't played since last season. To come out and do that, it's a big moment. And he's a guy that's won games in this league, and he's played in some big games as well. So he isn't a rookie guy coming in. He's got experience, and he did exactly what I think we talked about he could do. As he's a good passer, he doesn't turn the ball over, and he's going to be fired up. And it's the moment's not going to be too big for him, and it wasn't.
Listen, Jets are 3-9, but rookie quarterback Zach Wilson, he took a step forward today. The dynamic playmaker who is Elijah Moore continues to produce at an elite level. You got to look at things like this if you are a Jets fan. There are 5 games remaining on this season, and next week it starts with the New Orleans Saints. They've got some struggles offensively, so maybe that's a good matchup for your defense right now, and then Zach Wilson's going to be playing an elite defense next week.
And to be fair, defensively, let's just put it out there. You didn't have all your bodies, right? Not everybody's out there. I mean, you can't just expect it to be right with some of the guys with the lack of experience that they have. It's frustrating. It's frustrating for a coach. It's not the way. They don't coach how to not execute. They coach to execute. And sometimes guys that don't have that experience, they have lapses. That is the game. That's the game of football. You don't have your starting core out there, which we know it hasn't been out there for a while. You're going to have to deal with those ups and downs. But offensively, you're right. Those guys, the rookies, continue to shine. Got to have some of those veteran players continue to step up and be bigger on the football field when they get their opportunities. But, defensively, man, there's a lot of new faces out there trying to mesh it all together. It takes 11, man. It takes 11.
And hopefully 5-10 years down the road, you're going to look at this game when Zach Wilson is thriving in the National Football League and say, I remember the first time he accounted for 3 touchdowns in his professional career. Bumps along the way, but a sign of progress today at MetLife Stadium. For Anthony Becht, I'm Eric Allen. We are signing off from One Jets Drive.